All right, Hamlet's getting under my skin a little bit. This is like my fourth take, and trying to talk about Hamlet's state of mind is making me feel a little bit scattered. But such is the nature of reading Hamlet, I find, year to year, especially in wintertime. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of a rundown of the reading that you were supposed to do, perhaps a series of videos going through highlights from the acts and scenes that we're reading can help you process some of the play and some of the things that you might want to pay attention to. So we'll begin in Act 3, Scene 1. Claudius is talking to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. They report that yes, Hamlet is distracted, but we by no means can speak about what's distracting him. So they don't really know. Hamlet's told them he's depressed. He's told them he's not certain about the way that he looks at the universe. The chain of being that was so important to the Elizabethan mindset is sort of interrupted. He's wrestling with a lot of stuff, but he's only revealing a certain amount to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So Claudius is in the act of spying. And we know that that is something that's going on a lot in Hamlet. And so a good question is, what is Shakespeare trying to underscore with this motif of spying, which also connects with this theme of appearance versus reality? We have the appearance of things, which sometimes we confuse for the reality, and we have the opposite of that too. And Hamlet is caught in between, trying to figure out what's real, what's illusion. The ghost is a great representation of that. So parallel to Claudius's plot is Hamlet's plot, which we learned about right before Act 3, Scene 1. Hamlet's plot has to do with a play that the players are going to perform for the court. Hamlet, being a bit of a theater buff himself, has written a portion that he's going to have the players insert into their performance. Now, what Hamlet has written is a little bit of a readaptation of something that already exists, but in this readaptation, there's going to be a scene where there's a murder and where there's a wife switching from one husband to the next quite quickly. This is meant to cause a reaction in King Claudius. If it makes him mad, Horatio and Hamlet are going to be watching to see how he reacts. Perhaps Hamlet is thinking that the play is the thing by which he can catch the conscience of the king, which would give him enough evidence then to move ahead and do the bloody deed. Again, to quote another line from Hamlet, after he speaks to the ghost, he says, "Oh, cursed spite, that ever I should be born to set it right." Something along those lines. I think I didn't get it perfectly. But the thing is that Hamlet sees the responsibility lying on his shoulders when it comes to cleaning house, draining the swamp, to use a poor term these days. But Denmark has become a bed for damned incest and so on, as the ghost claims. Early on in this scene, then, Polonius and Claudius are going to bring in Ophelia and have her speak with Hamlet. They're going to arrange like a little happenstance, bumping into one another, and they're going to hide and try to observe the way that Hamlet responds to Ophelia. We should be wondering then, how is Hamlet going to respond to Ophelia? He was a real whack job the last time. We remember when we played that scene out. He was very, very disheveled. Well, you know the deal. So we're about to see that encounter. Now, everybody, here's the bit here. Read on this book, says Polonius, that show of such an exercise may color your loneliness. We are oft to blame in this. 'Tis too much proved that with devotion's vicious visage and pious action, we do sugar o'er the devil himself. And then here we have a really important thing. Basically, Polonius is saying how it's easy to kind of sugar over or to cover up an appearance of something. And you can even cover up something evil, like the devil himself, by an appearance. And so he's asking Ophelia to sort of take away that mask a little bit to appear lonely like she actually might be, thanks to Polonius. And he does kind of own up to the fact that he's creating Ophelia's distress. But he's saying, okay, pull away the mask a little bit and make yourself available for this encounter with Hamlet, because we need to see how he responds. But something about what Polonius says touches King Claudius, who aside says, "'Tis true, how smart a lash that speech doth give my conscience." So this, in essence, is the first hint, okay, very important. This is the first hint that the audience gets that Claudius is guilty. Why is his conscience lashing him? The harlot's cheek, beautied with plastering art, is not more ugly to the thing that helps it than is my deed to my most painted word. So, however elegant a ruler he is, however savvy of a politician, a diplomat, etc., it doesn't matter, because to him, none of those fine kingly moments can cover up the fact that he is bearing this terrible guilt of killing his brother. So that is a big ooh, ah moment for the audience. The famous to be or not to be speech. Kenneth Branagh interprets the scene such that Polonius and Claudius are actually spying on Hamlet. And you even wonder in that interpretation if Hamlet knows he's being spied on. These are all great questions. We'll never know for sure. But let's take a close look at what this soliloquy is all about. I'm going to have to go maybe line by line with this, so get ready and get your pencil out if you're writing it in your book. To be or to not to be or not to be, that is the question. Basically, to live or to die, that's the question I'm really torn with right now. And specifically, he's talking about suicide. He goes on to toss out this thought experiment, or he's sort of testing out an argument. Is it nobler to go through life and suffer, okay, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune? There's wonderful figurative language here. Okay, so should we just bear the torment of life, or should we take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them? How would you end the sea of troubles that comes along with life? Well, suicide, he is suggesting. To die, to sleep, no more. And by sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural sharks that flesh is heir to. Pause for a second. Here he's saying, what if when we die, we just go to sleep? What if the fleshly existence, okay, that brings with it 1,000 natural shocks, okay, just because we have skin, okay, and having skin means you're going to have nerves and things can hurt. Thousands and thousands of things are going to hurt us by the very nature of us being alive. Okay, this is we've inherited this, okay? The flesh is heir to this kind of suffering. But if we knew that when we died, we would just fade away, go to sleep, well, what then? For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. So he is saying, well, we don't know what kind of dreams we're going to have. Is it going to be a dreamless sleep, a forgetting, or is death going to bring with it some dreams? some scary dreams or some sort of scary existence, which is akin to dreaming. Here he is, he's drawing a comparison between death and sleep, and he's carrying out this conceit through the soliloquy. So the question of what kind of dreams we're going to have if we die gives us pause, okay? Makes us halt, think about it. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. He's saying here, this little question of what happens when we die, is it going to be good or bad? We don't know, and that's what prompts us to go on living. That's why people put up with the calamity of life for so long. And then he gets a little personal when he talks about, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely. Here he's talking about Claudius, the oppressor's wrong. The proud man's contumely is the attitude of Polonius, the pangs of despised love. This could be him talking about Ophelia, as well as maybe the love that's been lost between Hamlet's mother Gertrude and the dead King Hamlet. The law's delay. This might have something to do with the fact that Hamlet, by law, might be able to make a claim to the throne, but there's been a delay caused by the marriage of Claudius and Gertrude, because she's this imperial jointress. And so Claudius's marriage to her automatically makes him the king. This could be challenged, but there's some sort of delay that's been instated as a result of their marriage, most likely. Again, I'm not a legal expert on these laws, but that's my reading of it. Okay, so he goes on to list his grievances here. And then he talks about how that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin. The language here roughly translates into, okay, who would put up with all of this stuff if you could make your escape with a dagger? Again, it's a reference to self-slaughter, which he talked about that in his first soliloquy. Oh, that the Almighty might not have fixed his canon against self-slaughter. Why did God have to make it illegal or immoral to kill yourself? And he says that this question of what might happen in the afterlife, we don't know. We're afraid to find out. And he says, the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whom no traveler can return, it puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others we know not of. You may have heard of the saying that, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. So he says that people tend to stick with life because they're afraid of the alternative and the unknown. And he says, in that thinking, then, thus conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought. So our thinking and our reason bring up these doubts and bring our conscience into the picture, and will give us pause and perhaps take away our resolution. Okay, time's just about up here. That's the gist of his soliloquy, and Ophelia is about to come in now. At what point she's entered, we don't know for sure, but we know he addresses her by saying, "Soft you now, the fair Ophelia, nymph, in thy orisons," meaning prayers, "be all my sins remembered." As in he says, pray for me, Ophelia. Whether she knows that or not, it's hard to say.